Planning your LinkedIn presence. This is really designed for both students and faculty to understand how to use LinkedIn as a tool to help them in their career. I emphasize the word career because a lot of people think of LinkedIn as the tool to find their next job. If you actually search for training videos online of LinkedIn, almost everyone that I found talks about how to use it to find your next job. But I haven't been looking for a new job for a long time, and I probably use LinkedIn every single day. And I use it when I'm trying to connect with people to solve problems, I'm trying to find a resource, people are connecting with me, I'm answering them. It is a networking tool in business. And yes, if you're looking for a new job, it's a great asset, but that's not the primary reason you should think about it. So that's what this is all about. Now, before I start, I'd like to really, this is a quote I like. Every strategy is enacted well by some companies, poorly by others, and completely neglected by others. I'm going to show you a few samples of the poor and the neglected. But the reality is, this came from Brian Carter, who wrote a book on LinkedIn for Business, and he really gets it. He understands it. And again, if you read his book, you're going to recognize LinkedIn is not just for finding your next job. Again, it does help if you are, but you're not doing that all the time. But while you're doing your daily job, you're going to find LinkedIn is a great networking tool. I don't like to call it social networking from a business standpoint, but it's a great networking tool. So ultimately, the bottom line here is there should be a total commitment to making this work. A half-hearted attempt gives a marginal result. You want to have a good, strong, solid profile. So when somebody looks at it, they know they want to connect with you. They know that you offer something that is valuable to them so that they want to be connected to you. And in the same way when you're looking at other people's, if you're looking at theirs, you'll say, wow, I need to be connected with that person. So let's move on. Understanding networking, again, this is more of a millennial one that I found, that millennials tend to see it as a tool for finding their next job. And the reason for that, most of the millennials that I've dealt with are people that are getting ready to graduate from Clemson and they're looking for another job. But once you get out there and you have a job, you're going to keep using it, and that's what it's really all about. It's for experienced business people, and it becomes part of their daily life. Identifying people that potentially may be helpful to your goals. Again, you want to think about who you want to connect to. Don't just accept every connection. There are a lot of people that are just, it's more of a, again, this is more of a social media. Let's build my network, get as many people, I want to have all these connections. You need to think about your connections. If you're connected to people that are trying just to use your connections to get to other people, well, that's not exactly why I want to be connected to people. I mean, there's a benefit if I have some benefit of being connected to them so that I'm connected to other people. There's a benefit of being able to do that, but if people are just taken from you, that's not a valuable thing. There needs to be a reason, and it doesn't always have to be immediate. In other words, maybe you can see down the road that this might be something you'd be interested in, or a good person to connect, or maybe they're in upper management someplace, and you can see some value in that. So I would say that of all the connection requests that I get, I might accept probably 1 out of 5 would be an average, I would think. I really ignore quite a few of them because it's just people that are sending me a default message and they're just trying to grow their numbers, and there's not a lot of value that I see in connecting with them. So I also would clarify that when you're deciding who to connect to, it depends on your current role and where you want to be in the future. I mean, if you want to be in sales in the future, or you want to be uh, the owner of a company in the future, or you want to be in marketing, you want to be a CMO, well, then you might want to be connecting with people that are more like where you want to be in the future, but also be connected to people who are where you are today. And the last thing is, are you looking for customers, vendors, or partners? And the average person probably has got different types of people in their list, so recognize the value of being connected to people. Networking etiquette, I think that's really important. A lot of times people don't talk about things like etiquette, but if you're trying to sell, you shouldn't be a hard sell when you're using something like LinkedIn or any social media. It should be a soft sell from content that you post. don't pitch sales or products immediately after connecting with someone. So if you try or ask to connect with someone and then try to sell to them, it's just really bad form. And you don't want to post a pitch to like 50 people. That's, it's essentially spamming through LinkedIn. You want to send them a personal message to connect. Don't use the default message. That's the biggest thing I can stress. And at the end of this presentation, I'll sort of show you some of those things as well, how to do it and do it right. An important thing to start with are character limits. This is not all the character limits. The link down here on the bottom on the right will actually take you to a few more. These are what I consider to be the critical ones for getting started. For example, your headline, you have 120 characters. These are all characters, not words. 120 characters. This is how people find you. And so when you're writing your heading, you want to try to use pretty much as many of those as you can to tell your message. And I'll show you samples in a few minutes of people that have done a really good job and some people that maybe have left something on the table. Your first name can be 20 characters or less. Last name 40. I think that takes care of most people. Summary, you've got 2,000 words. If you're just beginning, maybe 1,000 words is realistic. I'm right at 2,000 myself, so if I want to add anything, I have to take something away. That's not a bad problem, but you have room to grow in the beginning, but you're really trying to tell a story, and we'll get more into that in a few minutes. These are just some of the different areas that you can do. So good slide, one of the ones you want to reference and then come back to it. And I'll talk about this as we're doing the rest of this presentation. One other important one is the number of groups you're in, and I'll really reinforce how important groups are to you. But you can be in up to 100 groups, and you need to think about, now, it's pretty hard to hit 100, but you'll get there at some point. But let's just say 10, let's say 20. You're looking for your groups to be a mixture of things you're interested in and things that are relevant to your job and things that maybe help people understand who you are. Maybe you love sailing, so you're in a LinkedIn sailing group. Maybe you love soccer, the soccer league on TV, and so you join that LinkedIn group. Those are the type of things where people sort of get to know a little bit more about who you are and what you do. So this is sort of a key slide to me. This is the slides where all the things that you need to hit for what I consider a minimal profile. And I have a slide basically on every one of these things that goes into it in a lot more detail. So just really in a nutshell, appropriate headline. It says this is your first impression. Now, to be honest, your first impression is your photo, because people always look at the picture before they look at the words. But your photo is just an image. Your words tell a lot more about you. So it's your first impression that's really defining with a concept other than the emotional impact of a photo. Your photo should be professional and appropriate. We'll talk about that more in a slide or two. Your contact information, other than social media, links, mail-in address, phone number, and email. Do you want people to connect with you or not? And if all they can do is connect with you through LinkedIn and you don't check your LinkedIn regularly, it's like a black hole. So, email probably be a minimum to me that you want them to be able to check, find out where you are. But there's some other things that you want to look for there. And again, I've got multiple slides on all of these issues. Your summary is very important. I think it's probably the single most important thing on here, because it really gives people a chance to get to know who you are and what's important to you. This is where you can tell the important things, things that are important to you and what shaped you as an individual. You're basically trying to tell them a story. You can also include a YouTube video, images of your work, a portfolio, news releases about something that happened in your career, your job, or your company. Then experience is really important, and you should include all relevant experience, not just the last job you were at, and tell them what you did at the job. What I always try to focus on people is, what are life skills that you gained at a job? What are life skills that you can take to the next job? You developed skills of interacting with people. You developed computer skills. What are life skills that are going to help you be successful down the road? Education, outline each college you went to. So if you've been to more than one, outline each one in the program of study that you took while you were there. Even if you didn't finish a degree, what type of courses did you take? Again, let's go back to the word life skills. What did you get out of that that's going to help you as you move forward in your life? Groups, you should have at least 10 groups on your list, some for business and some for your interest. So that's the minimum that I think you need to be having is 10. 50, 60, 70, that's great, but at least 10 to show that you're involved. Interest, they used to have in LinkedIn a line that you actually said, these are my interests. They've taken that out, but your interests are basically defined of the way you talk about different things and what you're putting in there. And what actually happens is there's keywords that you're writing down in your title, in your subject, in your, I'm sorry, not in your summary, and then even when you start talking about your experiences and things like that, and those keywords become things that the search engines find. So interesting keywords are pretty significant, and you want to make sure you try to include those where you can. Appropriate headline. Outside of your photogram, this is typically the first thing people see. It's your first impression that you're making as far as with you're making the impression rather than just the image of a picture. You have 120 characters. That is counting spaces, punctuation marks, everything. You got 120 characters to describe the different facets of your life. And what do you want to be known for? It needs to be more than just your title. Now, I'm going to skip out to, I'm going to go out to my profile and just sort of point out to you. So I'm just highlighting my title here. So professor at Clemson University, educator, speaker, trainer, author, digital print, marketing, MSP, and VDP for variable data printing. So I believe I'm at 118 characters. And again, the bars that I'm using to separate the different sort of categories of my life, the bars count and the spaces all count, the commas all count. So you need to recognize and you're trying to fill that in. This is something that, you can change periodically, but the first thing that you write should be the primary thing. And you need to keep that in mind. Okay, I'm going to switch back to PowerPoint. Your photo, it needs to be professional quality. It needs to be a good photograph. Now, I'm not saying that a cell phone, in fact, if that's all you got, a cell phone is a great camera, but you want to have somebody else take a picture of it, not a selfie holding it yourself. It really needs to be a headshot. What I'm going to show you, if I go back here real quick, what I'm going to show you is I'm just going to do a new search, and I'm going to search on LinkedIn, and I'm going to search for my brother, okay? Now, the reason I'm not connected to my brother is he doesn't have a LinkedIn profile. I don't know why, but he doesn't have a LinkedIn profile for his career. He doesn't feel like it's important. But if you take a look at this, I get a little picture of somebody over here on the left. Now, some people, their picture, they're not sharing their picture, so I don't see it. But if I was, let's say I met somebody at a conference and I remember their name and I'm trying to connect with them, the picture is what's going to make sure I get to the right person. And if that picture was not a headshot, then you're going to have a tough time. Well, here's a person that I know did not do a headshot. So if you take a look at this, you can see his head is a very small part of this picture. Now, if I take that and I just search for Wolf, and you can see I get lots of other pictures here. I guess I need to let me add Brad there. So I'm searching for that, and I'm looking down here, and if that picture comes up, which he's not coming up in it, the list, but if the picture came up, okay, his head would be so tiny you wouldn't be able to see what was going on. So that's not a good use of a picture, and you need to make it professionally. The other thing I really encourage people is if you're using a snapshot, like somebody had their hand around your shoulder and you can see the hand in the picture, I mean, it really needs to be a picture that you want to be here. And it needs to be appropriate for your position. So if you're the president of a company, I probably expect you to be in a tie. If you're a Clemson University student, then I would probably, more casual, it's fine. Think about the role that you want to do. Again, not a group shot, and this is not where you want to share anything about your pets or anything like that. So keep all that in mind. Contact information, you need to give them a way to contact you or your surrogate. I understand that there's some CEOs and some presidents that don't want to have people emailing them all the time. Well, fine, then tell them to contact your secretary, contact somebody else, somebody that's your gatekeeper. Do you want to do business with these people or not? Do you want to connect with them? Again, give them an option to contact you the way that they prefer to communicate. You may prefer Facebook. You may prefer Instagram. But the reality is, how do they want to connect with you? If you want to do business with them, give them that opportunity. So I really encourage people that an email and a hard mail address are two positive things that people can get something to you. I can understand some people want to leave some things out. I do have InMail here in the center. InMail is an email through LinkedIn, and depending upon the type of account you may have some of those to work with and some not. Now here's the important thing. If you are a first level, a second level, or a third level, you can send a message to those people and it doesn't count against you as an InMail, so it doesn't cost anything. If you are in a group with somebody, you can send them an email and it doesn't cost you anything. So you can send messages back and forth if you're connected on a first, second, or third level, or you're in a group. Let me refresh what a first, second, or third level is. The first level means I've connected with you directly. I said, do you want to connect? And we both say yes, and we're now connected on first level. Well, everybody that I'm connected to on a first level is now a second level to you. And everybody that's a second level of me is a third level to you. So that's sort of the reaching, almost like a pyramid scenario. So recognize that that's important. Also, most people don't even realize it, but if you put where you work as a company and your company has that LinkedIn profile, then it automatically puts an icon in next to your name where you're saying where you work, and that's going to that profile for the company. But you might want to make sure that you even put that in your list of contact information as far as your company's webpage. And then you can also put specific web pages inside your company, maybe the contact page, which has different people's names on it, or where the address or the directions to the company, things like that. Your summary needs to tell a story. Make it interesting so it will keep them reading. The facts come later. The facts come under your education, your experience, all the different places further down. You want to tell them how you're different. You're telling them a story. They should glean insight into what your values are. A brief work history. You don't want to tell all about companies and all the jobs that you've had, because you should be doing that underneath experience. But a brief history is fine. You know, I worked here and here and here and here, and now I'm here. That's okay. And then how did you get where you are today? And then what gets you excited? So what I basically tell people is, the format I love to see is the first paragraph. The first paragraph is sort of a positioning statement. It's a statement of who you are and what you're doing today, and a little bit of how you got there. And then the second paragraph tells a little bit more about sort of you, who you are as an individual, and then not so, it might still be a little bit job related, but a little bit more of who you are as an individual. And then the last paragraph, so I'm suggesting 3 is a good number. The last paragraph is something you're passionate about that has nothing to do with your job or going to school. Now, let me switch back over, and I'm going to go back to mine. So if I look at this and I open up the summary, the first one says, I'm a teacher. Again, I'd see it, and I'm even trying to make a statement there. I'm a teacher. I don't mean it as a profession, but as a choice. I decided when I was in 4th grade, so I'm talking about how I got there. The next one tells a little bit about me, so I'm talking a little bit about the type of teacher that I am. And then the last one is telling a little bit about what gets me excited. What am I passionate about? What's starting to change in my life? And then, okay, I have a 4th paragraph because I have a couple of grandchildren, so I talk about that. So something to understand. You also want to make people realize that if they want to, why would they want to connect with you? Because you've just told them something about yourself that they recognize this is a person I'd want to work with. Summary doesn't need to be changed all the time. It's not like Facebook where you want to post something on a regular basis. You need to change it when you're changing to a new job, you're getting married, you've moved to a new place, something along those lines. Let people know what's going on. But it's not quite the same thing as what you do with Facebook and things like that. Experience and education, there can be some overlap here with the earlier elements of the summary, but remember, this gives people the background of who you are. If you had multiple jobs inside one company or multiple ones, tell them about each job, tell them what you did, and you can have up to 2,000 characters for each job. Again, one of the things I mentioned earlier is, what are the life skills that you got doing that job? What are the life skills that you've developed that you're going to take forward to the next job and the next job and the next job? People, working with people, dealing with maybe complex issues of managing people, just all different things like that. What are the life skills that you got? Under education, cover each college you attended and each degree you received. Tell them a little bit about your studies, but avoid giving them a list of classes you took. Personally, that's a pet peeve. I find if you give people a list of classes and they were in the program, they know exactly what you're talking about. If they don't, they had no idea. They didn't need the list if they were in the program, so it's generally not helpful. I also encourage people to use a paragraph to describe what their degree is all about, and then if you want to list 5 or 6 things in a bulleted list, do that. A bulleted list all by itself is all about facts, but it never tells a story. So I'm a big proponent of that. Paragraph to start, bulleted list afterwards. Groups and interests. People can learn a lot about you when they look at the groups that you're in. You can list your interests and tell them a lot about you, and that becomes a strategic element when they're trying to search for people. Now, let me just go back over to LinkedIn and show you some different ones. So here's one, and you might want to look up Viveka Van Rosen. Viveka is a LinkedIn expert. She goes around the country talking and training and helping companies do different things. If you take a look at her profile, it's the most dynamic profile you can possibly see. I can almost guarantee you that she's got 2,000 characters here, probably to the number. She also, you can see here, she has some video links, and she actually has 10 more than you can see there. You can look at all of those, but they may be a story. They could be an endorsement by somebody else. It could be about one of the books she's written. You have a lot of things that you can add there, and you can tell what exactly is you can help people get to know you better. Then she and I have 40 mutual connections. Viveka has over 30,000 connections, and you only can have 30,000. Well, how do you have more? Well, she can't ask anybody to connect anymore, but people can still ask to connect with her, and that's how her numbers grow now. But she is just has so many different things down here when you scroll down her record. Now, this is not typical, but she is trying to sort of use this to all sorts of different groups. So when she gives a presentation, she might show one screen or another screen, or show a couple different things, but she uses recommendations, and again, there's 5 more experiences she's got. She's got education, she's got all sorts of things. So something to look at. You'd be really impressed. Now here's one where it hasn't been used very well. Joel Quadracci is the CEO of Quad Graphics, which is the 2nd largest printing company in the United States. He has 65 connections, which is telling me he doesn't use it. Now, he has nothing for his summary. He's just got this. If I clicked on his logo, this is going to go to the Quad Graphics company profile, his education, where he went to college, and he's just got 2 interests. So he's the CEO of a company that is missing this as a marketing opportunity to say something about his company. Again, I can see, if I look under contact information, it doesn't give me anything but his LinkedIn profile. But if somebody found him for some reason, and then it had somebody in his company that they were going to go to, at least they'd be able to make a connection. So to me, they've sort of wasted this opportunity as a marketing one. This is another one. This is Jeff Stout. He's actually a Clemson graduate from years ago. Actually, when I went to Clemson, he was there as a master's student in 80, 81. Jeff is the president of PICA, and now he has over 500 connections. If you look at his contact information, he does at least have an email, so you can find him and all. But okay, um, he doesn't really have a lot here, and so again, he's not really using this as a tool to help connect with people. It's like if somebody wants to, they can, but there's nothing else more here. Again, you can see I'm a first level connection with him. If I go back to Joel Quadracci, I'm a third level with him. I could ask to connect with him, but with 65, I don't think he's going to answer. Um, this is another person, I encourage you to take a look at Stephen Schnall as a very good one. He is a consultant in the industry, so he's marketing himself. Um, the only thing that I'm not a big fan about Steve's is everything is it's Stephen Schnall's prominent marketing thought leader, and then he is an ardent. This is supposed to be you writing it. This is you talking to them. He wrote this, but he wrote it like it's a narrative of somebody else, uh, and it's good. But I think if you're trying to get people to understand who you are, writing a story about yourself is a lot better. And you can see he's way over 500 contacts. He uses it very well, and uses it for his business and experiences. And he's got articles that he's done at different places. Um, so a lot of different things. Now, he's also a really good one. One of the best ways to find out groups to be in is to see all. Again, I'm not concerned about companies. I'm not concerned about schools. You can have as many of those as you want. But groups are the critical one that gives you a lot of power. Now, take a look at this. He's in Consultants Network, Marketing, CMO, Social Media Business, 743 members. Remember I said a few minutes ago that anybody you want to send that's a first level, second or third level doesn't cost you an email. Anybody that's in a group. So here's 743 people that are in marketing that he can send a message to with no charge. There's no in-mail cost. He's in the American Advertising Federation. If you take a look at all the different ones he's in, it's very heavy in marketing. Might be something interested. And these are the ones you can find some that make sense and try to join them. Now you have to be careful on some of these because, for example, the CMO one, I know this for a fact, and I'm in this one as well, but the CMO one, if you try to click on it, it'll take a day, maybe two, and you'll get an email that says, why do you want to be in the group? They don't let just anybody in. They have a gatekeeper, and you have to give them a reason. Now, I haven't had many GC majors that have been able to get into that, but I've had over the years, I've had 3 students that were doing a double baccalaureate degree in marketing and graphic communications, and they were able to get in because they said they're working on a degree in marketing and in graphic communications, and they let them in. But some of these, okay, you're going to have a hard time getting in. Some of them you're just going to click and you're going to get right in. For example, digital printing, if you're really interested in that, you can get right into that one. This is one I recommend to all of the students, printing production professionals. I'll actually show you, I'll go back here, Deborah Korn. She is one of the people that runs that one, so you'll get into that. She's a little crazy, but awesome. She's a sort of designer, interesting creator, and read her. It's a very interesting profile too. I think you'll enjoy looking at that one, and it'll make some sense to you. So just some things to take a look at. So let me go back to finish a little more in PowerPoint, and we'll go through this. Again, really reinforcing groups. You can join up to 100. You want to have a mix. The groups tell whoever's looking at your profile, it tells them a lot about you too, what groups you're in, and work from that. You can look at my list. You can see some groups I'm in and try to join. You need to try to be in 10. When you post to a group, don't post too often. I don't know that a lot of people, when they're new to LinkedIn, start posting to groups, but I've only posted a few times to a couple different groups. So once or twice I've posted to the marketing group. More of it's responding to what somebody's saying, so it's sort of a discussion that's going on. And it's one of the ones I follow on a pretty regular basis. If you're going to post something, it needs to you need to return to the group and review the comments that people have left. If you just post something and you leave it alone, and you post something again, nobody's going to respond the next time. But if you post something, follow it and respond if people have a question or make a suggestion or something like that. Proof everything you write. When I'm going to write anything that goes on LinkedIn, I generally write it in Word first and run it through spell check, and then I post it. I would strongly encourage you to do that. Connecting the right way. Avoid clicking the connect button when it says people you may know or people who viewed your profile, because then it just sends them an automatic default. I don't respond to default messages. This is the default message: I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn. I just ignore it. Now, what's the right way to connect? And I've got this on a slide, but I just want to show you. So here is, I looked up a graduate of mine that worked at PCI, a student I had right early in my career. And so I thought, well, he works for PCI. What if I could get together with somebody else in there? So if I wanted to do this, so I found from their webpage, or their profile, I'm sorry, their LinkedIn profile, I found he's the VP of Business Development. So now I go to his profile. I'm on his profile, and I hit the connect button. I can now say add a note. I now have 300 characters to give him a good reason to say yes in the connection request. So I want you to understand that this is the right way that you need to be doing it. Send a message. And when you're sending the message, that's where I wanted to show you how to do it. When you're sending the message, go back to the slide, the point is, you need to send a message that makes sense. By the way, this is connecting. This is somebody that tried to connect with me one time, and she was sending me a default message, and I looked at it, and she was connected with several people I knew, and so I'm trying to figure out what it was. But say, hey guys, my name is Melissa Facilicity, and I'm from Quebec in Quebec City. I'm crazy about computer games. I normally call myself this is like her Facebook post. This is not professional. This is not right. And by the way, the picture was not appropriate either. So the reality is, you want to connect right. You don't want to just repurpose your dating profile. If you're going to send a message, very important slide. Very important slide. If you're going to send a message, again, you only have 300 characters. Consider one of the following strategies to get them to respond to you. Remind them how you met. I was at a conference one time. I heard a speaker talk. I went out during the next session. I found her on LinkedIn. What was really interesting, she went to my high school. I was blown away. I would never have known that. I mean, she was a little bit younger than I was. And I immediately sent her a request to connect. I really enjoyed her presentation. And I said, I was just in your presentation. It was a great presentation. I looked at your profile, realized we're in the same hometown. Love to connect with you. She connected instantly as soon as she got back on. So remind them how you met. Explain why you want to connect with them. Describe the benefits of being connected. Now, here's the important thing is, you're describing the benefit you offer, not the benefit they're going to give you, okay? That's not the important one. What are you bringing to the table, not what did you see in their profile that would be really good if I connected with you. I've had students say, Dr. Lang, it'd be great if I connect with you, because then I'd have access to all the people you have connections to, and it would help me later when I'm looking for a job. That's probably a true statement, but that's not the way to make me want to connect with you. That's like you want to suck the blood out of me. I want a partnership here. I want to have some value as far as what's going on. Describe the benefits. It's a win-win. You're trying to create a win-win for you and for me. Compliment or comment something about that you saw on their profile. Point to something that you have in common. It's a week, but maybe you're in the same group with them. That would be something, if it was an important group. But what if you pick a group that wasn't really significant to them? It's not the best one, but sometimes it may be all you got. Mention someone that you know in common. So that the fellow that I had just shown you, I would have mentioned Tim Lackey's name, because Tim Lackey would have been the person that would have helped, sort of explained why I was contacting him. And then you can also ask someone else to give you a reference. Now that's an indirect way of doing it to make it work right. Other things to think about: status updates. I keep them turned off unless it's something major, like I'm changing jobs or something along those lines. Otherwise, you're sending a notice out to everybody that something's changed in your status. So I keep it turned off. By the way, I'll show you that in just a moment. You want to put your LinkedIn URL on your business card so you can actually personalize it and shorten it. You want to make, you might want to have recommendation testimonials. I don't have a lot of those myself, but it's not important in my career. Any projects that you've done, background, photo, in the banner position, I put one of a scene from Clemson University that I did. I thought it was a little unusual. It was more of a panoramic shot. And then groups, get your company involved in groups and be a contributor. So let me go back to the profile, and I'm going to go back to my profile. And I want to show you again how you would edit it. So if I want to edit this, I've got this little pencil button right here. So let's see, I just want to highlight so you can sort of see where I am. I can't. It's there we go. I just clicked on my button. Now I can come here. I can change it. By the way, you can have multiple headlines. It only remembers the last one you did. But if I try to connect with someone, I can use any one of my headlines. Um, so I'm a technical expert on for patent lawsuits and printing. I've done that half a dozen times. If I'm responding to a lawyer, I would use that title, not necessarily my teacher title. Um, Education. So basically, I've gone to four different. I have four different degrees, two from Clemson, St. Leo. I just got it. So the last one that shows up is St. Leo because it's the last one I've been working on. I've got my address, location in again area, and then my summary. And then I can go in here in my summary and I can edit my summary. I can add media links, so I have two different videos that I've added. I have a third one planned this semester. So I can put all of those different things in there. If I'm going down and I'm just going to click Save on that. If I go to my contact information and I go to my profile, now when I come in here, I can add web pages, URLs, take them to different ones. I need to update this one as I just realized it right here because we changed from this. It still forwards it to the right spot, but I really need to clean that up. And then, so I can sort of edit any of these things and keep them up to date. Now, if I want to, I can actually edit my URL for my LinkedIn profile. Again, I put it on there. So right here, I could click on this and I could change that extension. I can't change the beginning, but I can change the extension. I did it early enough. There's no other. I was the first Lying-Iner that did this, but I could put Lying-Iner, with a number after it or initials or something along those lines. You want to try to keep it short because it's going to go on your business card, go on your emails, whatever it is. You want to make sure that it shows up. Now, if you continue to scroll down here, I'm saying that I want this to be public. I could tell people I only want my connections to see my photos or people in my network, but I want it to be public. And then I have everything turned on. I have had a few times where people, when they've turned it in to get their grade, they have groups turned off and I can't see their groups, so I don't think they've got 10. So I turned it back on, but I keep everything on. The idea is I want people to see what's going on. So that's where you edit some of those settings and you can go in and take care of it. So I hope this gives you a better understanding of what the opportunity is that you can do.